Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it.
It was a crisp autumn evening when my world fell apart. The leaves on our tree-lined street had turned vibrant shades of red and gold, a stark contrast to the growing chill in the air. I had always loved this season, the way it marked a time of reflection and family gatherings. This year, however, the warmth of those memories felt like a cruel joke. I had spent the entire day preparing a special dinner. Turning 55 wasn't exactly thrilling, but I hoped to bring a sense of normalcy and warmth back into our home. My son Marcus and his wife Claire had grown distant in recent years, and I longed for the closeness we once shared. In the kitchen, the aroma of roasted chicken, Marcus's favorite, filled the air. I had also baked an apple pie, using the recipe my mother had passed down to me. Every slice was a piece of our family history, a testament to love and tradition. As the clock struck 6, the doorbell rang. My heart leaped with a mix of hope and anxiety. I hurried to the door, smoothing down my dress and forcing a smile. When I opened it, Marcus stood there, his face unreadable. Claire was beside him, her eyes cold and calculating. The absence of their children was conspicuous. "Where are the kids?" I asked, trying to mask the worry in my voice with a tone of casual curiosity. Claire let out a derisive laugh. "We thought it best they stay with a friend tonight. We wouldn't want them exposed to any more of your toxic influence." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. I turned to Marcus, hoping for some sign of support or understanding, but his expression was hard, his jaw set in a grim line. "Marcus, what's going on?" I asked, my voice trembling despite my efforts to stay calm. "Mom," he said, his tone icy and detached, "it's time for you to go." "Go? What do you mean go?" I stammered, confusion and fear knotting in my stomach. Claire stepped forward, her lips curling into a smug smile. "This is our house now. You've overstayed your welcome." Marcus grabbed my arm, his grip firm and unyielding. "You've caused enough trouble, Mom. It's time for you to leave." The reality of the situation hit me like a freight train. My own son, the boy I had raised with love and care, was throwing me out of my home. The home where I had nurtured him, sacrificed for him, and built a lifetime of memories. "Marcus, please," I pleaded, tears streaming down my face. "This is my home. You can't just throw me out." His face hardened further. "Enjoy the streets, Mom," he said, his voice devoid of any emotion. "Maybe it'll teach you to mind your own business." I stumbled out onto the porch, the door slamming shut behind me. The cold wind bit through my thin sweater, and I felt utterly lost and abandoned. My entire world had crumbled in an instant, and I was left standing in the ruins. Just as despair threatened to overwhelm me, a car pulled up beside me. The window rolled down, revealing the concerned face of my best friend, Ariana. "Annabelle, what happened? What are you doing out here?" she asked, her voice filled with worry. I could barely choke out the words. "Marcus, he kicked me out, said it was his house now." Ariana's eyes widened in shock, then narrowed in anger. "He did what? On your birthday? Oh honey, get in the car. You're coming home with me." Numbly, I climbed into the passenger seat. As Ariana drove, she kept glancing over at me, her brow furrowed in concern. "This is unacceptable, Annabelle. Marcus can't treat you like this. Something has to be done," she said, her voice firm. I shook my head, still in shock. "What can I do, Ariana? He's a grown man. He's made his choice." Ariana pursed her lips, a determined glint in her eye. "Maybe so, but that doesn't mean he gets to get away with it. You're his mother, for God's sake. It's time Marcus and that wicked wife of his learned that there are consequences for their actions." I turned to her, confused. "What are you saying?" A slow smile spread across Ariana's face. "I'm saying, my dear, that it's time for a little revenge, and I know just the person to help us get it." As we sped into the night, I felt a flicker of something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, I could make Marcus and Claire pay for the pain they had caused. That maybe, karma would finally catch up to them. Ariana's house was a warm haven compared to the cold streets outside. As soon as we arrived, she ushered me inside, wrapped me in a thick blanket, and handed me a steaming cup of tea. The warmth seeped into my bones, but it did little to thaw the icy knot of betrayal in my chest. "Now, Annabelle," Ariana said, sitting down across from me, her eyes full of determination. We need to figure out how to handle this. Marcus and Claire can't just throw you out like that. I shook my head, still in shock. I don't even know where to start. Ariana leaned forward, her expression intense. We start by finding out everything we can about Claire. There's something off about her, and I bet she has a past that she's hiding. How can we do that? I asked, feeling a spark of curiosity despite my despair. Ariana's face broke into a mischievous grin. My brother, Hunter, he's a private investigator. If anyone can dig up dirt on Claire, it's him. The next morning, after a restless night, Ariana called Hunter. Within hours, he was sitting in Ariana's cozy kitchen, his broad-shouldered presence filling the room. Hunter had always been a man of few words, but his sharp eyes missed nothing. "Annabelle, I'm sorry for what you're going through," he said, his voice steady and reassuring. "Let's get to work. Tell me everything you know about Claire." As I recounted the years of subtle manipulations and outright hostility, Hunter took meticulous notes. I described how Claire had isolated Marcus from his friends and family, how she had wormed her way into his confidence, and how she had turned him against me. Hunter nodded, his expression grim. "This isn't uncommon. People like Claire often have a pattern of behavior. I'll start digging into her past. It might take some time, but I'll find something." Days turned into a week, each one a torturous blend of anxiety and anticipation. I tried to keep myself busy, helping Ariana around the house, but my thoughts were constantly with Marcus. I couldn't help but wonder if he missed me, if he regretted his actions, or if Claire's influence was too strong. Finally, Hunter called. "I found something," he said, his voice tinged with triumph. "Meet me at Ariana's." Coming in from my walk in the park, I found Hunter on the floor of Ariana's living room, with his laptop and a stack of papers. He looked up when I walked in, his eyes serious. "Annabelle, what I'm about to tell you isn't easy to hear," he began. "Claire has a history of embezzlement from her previous job. She managed to avoid jail time, but it was a close call." My heart sank. Embezzlement? How did she keep that a secret? "She's very good at covering her tracks," Hunter said, "but that's not all. She's also a person of interest in the death of her ex-boyfriend. The case was never solved, but there were suspicions of foul play. The investigation was reopened a few years ago, but it went cold. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Are you saying she might have killed someone?" Hunter nodded. "It's a possibility. The evidence isn't conclusive, but it's enough to reopen the investigation. And if the police find new evidence, Claire could be in serious trouble." Ariana, who had been quietly listening, spoke up. "This is it, Annabelle. This is our chance to expose Claire and get justice." I looked between them, feeling a surge of strength and determination. "What do we do next?" Hunter laid out the plan. "We'll compile all the evidence I've found and present it to the authorities. If they reopen the investigation into her ex-boyfriend's death, it will put immense pressure on Claire, and Marcus will have to face the truth about his wife." As we worked late into the night, organizing documents and preparing our case, I felt a flicker of hope. Hunter and I met at Ariana's house again, our makeshift headquarters in this battle against Claire. The cozy living room had been transformed into a war room, papers strewn across the coffee table, and a large whiteboard on which Hunter had meticulously outlined Claire's dubious history. Hunter looked up from his laptop, his eyes gleaming with determination. "We need to focus on the embezzlement first. It's the most concrete evidence we have, and it's something the authorities can act on quickly." I nodded, feeling a mix of anxiety and resolve. "What's our next step?" Hunter leaned back, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. "We need a way to present this to the police without it looking like a personal vendetta. It has to be credible and legally sound." Ariana, who had been pacing nervously, stopped and turned to us. "What if we get an insider to corroborate the evidence, someone who worked with Claire at her old job?" Hunter's eyes lit up. "That's a brilliant idea. If we can find someone willing to testify, it would strengthen our case immensely." The next few days were a blur of phone calls, emails, and detective work. Hunter managed to track down several former employees of the company where Claire had worked. Most were reluctant to talk, still wary of the repercussions of their past association with Claire. But one name kept coming up: Linda Matthews, a former accountant who had left the company under mysterious circumstances. We finally managed to contact Linda, and she agreed to meet us at a small cafe on the outskirts of town. As we sat waiting, I couldn't help but feel a knot of anticipation tightening in my stomach. This meeting could be the key to bringing Claire down. Linda arrived right on time, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a nervous demeanor. She sat down across from us, her hands trembling slightly as she took a sip of her coffee. "Thank you for meeting with us, Linda," Hunter began, his tone gentle but firm. "We're trying to uncover the truth about Claire. Anything you can tell us would be incredibly helpful." Linda glanced around nervously before speaking, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know how much I can help, but I'll try. Claire was always very secretive. But I knew she was up to something. She manipulated the books, moved funds around. I tried to report it, but she had powerful friends who protected her. Eventually, I was forced out." "Do you have any evidence?" I asked, leaning forward eagerly. Linda nodded slowly. "I kept copies of some documents just in case. I didn't know what to do with them, but I couldn't just let her get away with it." Hunter's eyes gleamed with satisfaction. "That's exactly what we need, Linda. If you're willing to testify and provide those documents, it could make all the difference." Linda hesitated, fear flickering in her eyes. "Claire is dangerous. She'll come after me if she finds out." "We'll protect you," Hunter assured her. "The authorities will ensure your safety. You're doing the right thing." Linda took a deep breath and nodded. "All right, I'll help you." With Linda's testimony and the incriminating documents she provided, we had a solid case against Claire. Hunter compiled everything into a detailed report and arranged a meeting with Detective Reynolds, a seasoned investigator with a reputation for thoroughness and integrity. The meeting took place at the police station, a stark, imposing building that seemed to amplify the gravity of the situation. Detective Reynolds listened intently as Hunter presented the evidence, his expression growing more serious with each passing minute. "This is substantial," Reynolds said finally, his voice measured. "We'll need to verify everything, but it looks like you've done your homework. If this checks out, we can move forward with charges against Claire." Relief washed over me, but it was tempered with a lingering fear. This was only the beginning. We still had to face the fallout of our actions and the wrath of Claire. As we left the police station, Hunter turned to me, a look of determination in his eyes. "We're not done yet, Annabelle. We need to push for the reopening of the investigation into Claire's ex-boyfriend's death. The embezzlement charges will put pressure on her, but if we can link her to the death, it'll be the final nail in her coffin." I nodded, feeling a surge of renewed strength. "Let's do it." Hunter's network of contacts proved invaluable once again. He managed to secure a meeting with Detective Lisa Monroe, the lead investigator on the cold case of Claire's ex-boyfriend, Mark Daniels. Detective Monroe was a no-nonsense woman with a sharp mind and a reputation for dogged determination. We met at her office, a cluttered space filled with case files and crime scene photos. Detective Monroe greeted us with a firm handshake and a penetrating gaze. "Mr. Hunter, Ms. Jordan, I've reviewed the preliminary information you provided. It's intriguing, to say the least. We've suspected foul play in Mark Daniels' death for years, but we never had enough evidence to proceed. If you can provide more substantial leads, we might be able to reopen the case." Hunter handed over a folder containing the additional evidence he had uncovered. "This is everything we have so far. We believe Claire had a motive and the opportunity. There are also some inconsistencies in her alibi that we've highlighted." Detective Monroe flipped through the folder, her expression growing more focused with each page. "This is good, very good. We'll need to follow up on these leads, but I think you might be onto something." As we left the precinct, I felt a mix of hope and trepidation. We were getting closer to the truth, but the danger was increasing as well. Claire was not someone to be underestimated, and I knew she would retaliate if she sensed a threat. A few days later, I received a call from Marcus. His voice was filled with anger and confusion. "Mom, what the hell is going on? The police are asking questions about Claire. She's furious and blaming you for everything." I took a deep breath, trying to remain calm. "Marcus, you need to listen to me. Claire isn't who you think she is. She has a history of embezzlement, and there are serious suspicions about her involvement in her ex-boyfriend's death. We have evidence. Evidence? Marcus scoffed. You've always hated Claire. This is just another one of your schemes to break us up. No, Marcus, I said firmly. This isn't about hate. This is about the truth. Claire has been manipulating you and everyone around her. You need to see that. There was a long silence on the other end of the line before Marcus finally spoke, his voice weary and uncertain. I don't know what to believe anymore. Believe the facts, I urged him. Talk to the police. Look at the evidence. Don't let Claire's lies cloud your judgment. After we hung up, I felt a pang of sadness for Marcus. He was caught in the middle, torn between his loyalty to Claire and the mounting evidence against her. Over the next few weeks, the investigation gained momentum. Detective Monroe and her team re-examined the evidence in Mark Daniels' case, uncovering new leads and inconsistencies in Claire's story. The embezzlement charges were moving forward as well, with Linda's testimony proving crucial. One evening, as Ariana and I were sitting in her living room, the phone rang. It was Hunter. Annabelle, we've done it, he said, his voice filled with excitement. The police have enough to arrest Claire. They're bringing her in tonight. I felt a surge of relief and vindication. Thank you, Hunter. We couldn't have done this without you. Don't thank me yet, he replied. This is only the beginning. Claire's arrest will set off a chain of events. Be prepared for the fallout. Later that night, as I watched the news, my heart pounded in my chest. The lead story was Claire's arrest, complete with footage of her being led away in handcuffs. The commentator detailed the charges against her: embezzlement and suspicion of involvement in Mark Daniels' death. As the reality of our success sank in, I felt a strange mix of emotions. Triumph, yes, but also a deep sadness for Marcus and the life that had been shattered. But through it all, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The morning after Claire's arrest, the world seemed oddly serene, as if holding its breath for what would come next. Ariana and I sat in her kitchen, the aroma of fresh coffee mingling with the anticipation in the air. Hunter had called earlier, saying he'd join us soon. We knew today would bring confrontation, and we had to be prepared. The doorbell rang, and Ariana jumped, nearly spilling her coffee. I placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. It's probably just Hunter. But it wasn't Hunter. Marcus stood at the door, his face a mask of fury and confusion. My heart sank. This was going to be harder than I thought. Mom, we need to talk. Now, he said, his voice tight with anger. I led him into the living room, where Ariana quickly excused herself. Marcus turned to me, his eyes blazing. How could you do this? Claire's been arrested. The police are saying she's involved in Mark's death. This is insane. Marcus, please, sit down, I said calmly. We need to talk about this rationally. Rationally? You've ruined our lives, he shouted, refusing to sit. Marcus, listen to me. I didn't do this out of spite. Claire has a history of criminal behavior. The evidence is overwhelming. She's been manipulating you, using you. He shook his head, pacing the room. You've always hated her. You never gave her a chance. That's not true, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. I wanted to believe she was good for you. But the facts speak for themselves. She embezzled money, Marcus. And there's a strong case that she was involved in Mark's death. I couldn't stand by and let her destroy you. Marcus stopped pacing and looked at me, his eyes filled with a mix of anger and pain. I don't know what to believe anymore. Claire's been nothing but supportive. She's been my rock. I felt a pang of sorrow for him. I know this is hard, but you need to see the truth. Claire's support was a facade. She's dangerous, Marcus. Before Marcus could respond, the doorbell rang again. This time it was Hunter. He took one look at the tense scene and nodded grimly. I see we have a lot to discuss. Hunter joined us, and I briefly filled him in on the situation. Marcus listened in silence, his expression unreadable. Marcus, Hunter began, his tone firm but compassionate. I know this is difficult to hear, but Claire has been deceiving you. We have solid evidence of her crimes. You need to understand that your mother and I only want to protect you. Marcus sighed, rubbing his temples. What evidence? Hunter opened his laptop and pulled up the documents, showing Marcus the forged financial records, the testimonies from former colleagues, and the inconsistencies in Claire's alibi regarding Mark's death. Marcus studied the screen, his face growing paler with each revelation. This can't be true, he whispered, more to himself than to us. It is true, Hunter said gently. We've triple-checked everything. Claire has been living a lie, and she's dragged you into it. Tears welled up in Marcus's eyes, and he sank into a chair. Why didn't I see it? Why did I let this happen? I knelt beside him, taking his hand. Because you loved her, Marcus, and love can blind us to the truth. But now you have a chance to start over, to build a life free from her manipulation. Marcus looked at me, his eyes filled with a mix of gratitude and sorrow. I'm so sorry, Mom, for everything. We'll get through this together, I promised, squeezing his hand. We're a family, and we'll heal. Hunter nodded. We need to focus on the next steps. Claire's arrest is just the beginning. The trial will be tough, but we have the truth on our side. The days that followed were a whirlwind of legal preparations and emotional upheaval. Claire was arraigned, and the charges against her were formally read. She pleaded not guilty, of course, but the evidence was damning. The trial was set to begin in a few weeks, and we knew it would be a battle. Meanwhile, Marcus struggled to come to terms with the betrayal. He moved in with Ariana and me, finding solace in the familiar warmth of our home. We spent long nights talking, piecing together the fragments of his shattered trust. One evening, as we sat by the fireplace, Marcus turned to me, his expression thoughtful. Mom, I've been thinking about the future. I want to be there for my kids, to protect them from all this. Claire's influence has been toxic, and I need to make sure they grow up in a healthy environment. I smiled, feeling a surge of pride. That's a wonderful decision, Marcus. Your children need you now more than ever. Hunter joined us, carrying a stack of legal documents. We need to discuss the custody situation. Given the charges against Claire, it's likely you'll get full custody, but we need to be prepared for a fight. Marcus nodded, determination in his eyes. I'll do whatever it takes to protect my kids. As the trial approached, the tension grew palpable. The media swarmed around the courthouse, eager for any scrap of information. Claire's defense team was formidable, but Hunter's meticulous preparation gave us confidence. The trial itself was a grueling ordeal. We sat through hours of testimony, cross-examinations, and legal maneuvering. Linda Matthews proved to be a crucial witness, her calm, detailed account of Claire's embezzlement practices, leaving little room for doubt. The prosecution presented the evidence linking Claire to Mark's death, painting a chilling picture of her calculated actions. Claire, for her part, maintained her innocence, her performance on the stand a masterclass in deception. But the cracks in her story were evident, and the jury listened intently, their expressions growing more somber with each revelation. The turning point came when Hunter presented the forensic analysis of the financial records, highlighting the trail of embezzled funds leading directly to Claire. The final nail in the coffin was the testimony of a forensic pathologist, who outlined the inconsistencies in the initial investigation of Mark's death, suggesting foul play. After weeks of testimony and deliberation, the jury returned with their verdict. Guilty on all counts. Claire was sentenced to a lengthy prison term, and the case of Mark's death was officially reopened. As the gavel fell, a wave of relief washed over me. Justice had been served, but the journey was far from over. Marcus stood beside me, his face a mix of relief and sorrow. It's over, he whispered. Yes, it is, I replied, hugging him tightly. We can finally start to heal. In the aftermath of the trial, we focused on rebuilding our lives. Marcus devoted himself to his children, determined to give them the stable, loving home they deserved. Ariana and I supported him every step of the way, our bond stronger than ever. One evening, as we sat on the porch, watching the sunset, Marcus turned to me, a peaceful smile on his face. Thank you, Mom, for everything. I don't know what I would have done without you. I smiled, feeling a deep sense of contentment. We're a family, Marcus. We stick together no matter what. The past had been tumultuous, filled with betrayal and pain, but we had emerged stronger, united by our love and determination. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, it felt bright.